creating our torus by going to Create Polygon Primitives Torus, because the torus looks like that handle. I'm going to move it over, move it up. I see that most of you guys have done this already, but I wanted to point something out. As I said yesterday, if I want to rotate this 90 degrees to get it perfectly upright, I can do so here. Also, transform attributes are pretty much the same as what's in your channel box. The channel box might be easier for you to understand because it actually says translate XYZ, rotate XYZ, scale XYZ. So I know that I want to rotate it around the X axis. So if I rotate in X 90 degrees and hit enter, it rotates 90 degrees perfectly. Okay, so make sure you have it rotated 90 degrees. The next thing we're going to do, and I'm going to give you your computers back, is I want to go to my attribute editor and I want to alter this torus. To do that, I'm going to go to Poly Torus 1, the tab, and I'm going to change my radius right here just by sliding it up, and I'm going to get it to approximately the size of my handle. It doesn't have to be perfect. Also note that we're only going to use half of this, and I'll show you how to delete half in a minute. But I'm really looking at just the right side of my torus, trying to match the size up. Also, there's too much geometry in here to attach this. We can smooth it later and make it look nice and clean and smooth later. So we're going to break that geometry down. We're going to simplify it a little bit. I'm going to change my subdivisions axis to 8. And watch what happens as I slide that down. So all those little edge loops are being removed as I slide that down. And I'm going to change my subdivisions height to 5. So you can see all these subdivisions going this way on the torus. If I change that to 5, we get basically what we worked with yesterday, which was that pentagonal cylinder. And now we've got something that we can easily work with when we try to attach it to our cup. So I want you to get your torus here. And again, get it close. I can change my radius a little bit. Once you get there, you can again go back and mess with your radius. But we're going to move these verts around anyway, so just get it close to the size and the shape of your particular handle. Now, as I said, we're only going to use half of this, so I can pull it out. And notice, by the way, I'm just grabbing the X handle. Remember to always check in perspective where your work lies in 3D space, in all 3 dimensions. Bless you. Right now, I'm going to be in front, and I want to delete half, the left half, which we don't need. So I hit F11 to get to face selection mode. I drag select all those, and I hit backspace. Get out of face selection mode, and I'm going to move my cup back towards my cylinder before I start playing with actual edge loops and verts to get this to look right. But remember, pay attention to where your stuff is in space, because it's going to be important when we start playing with these edge loops and these verts that you don't move things in the wrong direction, otherwise it can get ugly very quickly. So pay attention to what you're doing. Now comes the individualization part. So depending on the handle on your cup, you're going to have to pay attention to how you're modeling this. Again, you got to think in 3D space. So now we're going to play with verts and edge loops. I know that my handle, and I'm going to move it out of the way, I'm looking at it, I've got sort of a thick part up here. It tapers off, gets a little thinner as it comes through this outer portion. Then it gets thicker back towards where it attaches to the cup. So I want to sort of emulate that. I want to make sure I model that. Again, I don't expect these to be perfect, but I expect you to try to get them close. So again, I'm going to move them close, or move it closer to my cylinder, and I'm going to hit F9 to get to select verts. Now, if I hit R, I know that if I grab my middle manipulator, I will scale those verts uniformly. Okay, and I've done this before, so I trust it. If you don't trust it, go back to perspective. Notice that I have all 5 verts there. My manipulator, my pivot, is right in the middle of all 5 of those. And when I grab that and scale up, it scales it uniformly around from the center. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to scale those uniformly and I'm going to move it closer. Notice again that I'm grabbing it in X. I can do it in X and Y, or X, and I'm just going to get that close. Now I'm going to grab these and I'm going to grab the middle manipulator to move it in space. I might even rotate it in space, and this is where it gets tricky. When you're in an orthographic view like front and you hit E, the big giant circle on the outside of the manipulator will rotate it in that view. So I'm in front view right now, which means I'm looking through the Z-axis. So when I grab that big manipulator, it's rotating around that axis. Be careful not to grab the side ones because you'll start twisting your handle. We don't want a twisted handle. I'm going to Z back out of that. I want to move my loops to about the center of my handle. This is where X-ray mode really comes in handy, because I can see if I zoom into that, I want the middle to be about in the middle. I'm also going to scale it down because it's a little smaller. I'm going to move it, scale it, move it, scale it, move, R, grab the middle, scale. And yes, we don't have enough resolution to create that curvature yet. But I'm getting these, again, we're working big to small, pretty close to the width that I want, depending on where they're located. I'm going to move that down towards the middle. Hold down R. I actually don't want to, I want to rotate it so that it's basically, your goal is to get these, if I can explain this the best that I can, to get the width from point to point the same as the width of my handle. I also want this line to run perpendicular to the line of the handle. So remember, hopefully you know what parallel and perpendicular is, right? Perpendicular is like crossing in a 90-degree direction. Parallel is the same, perpendicular. So if I were to draw a line right through the middle of my handle, all of these little loops should be perpendicular to that line, or at least close to. And that'll help with the curvature of your handle while you create this geometry. So I'm just going to leave this here for now, and if I go to perspective and take a look, I get out of X-ray, I can see that this is starting to take shape. Notice that it got skinnier in all directions, because I'm assuming that's how this is happening. I'm not sure. My handle, based upon this image, might be like super wide. I can't tell because I don't have that kind of perspective on it. I'm going to make an assumption. I'm going to take artistic liberty and do whatever I want and get it close. Okay? So try to get your handle to this point. Those that can't make it. Hello again. I'm going to go back to X-ray mode. And remember, we talked about this at the very beginning of modeling. In order to create curvature, you need resolution. Currently, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of facets. Boom, 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 boom. We need to add more so I can get curvature. I don't want to add so much that it's going to be perfect. We're going to smooth what's called smoothing. We're going to smooth it later. That's going to automatically add resolution and smooth it all out. I just want to get it close. Okay, just like the top of our cup where it's still sort of faceted around, it's not perfectly round. I want to do the same thing with my handle. So how do we add resolution to a cylinder? What's that? Joints. That'll animate them. Right? We need more resolution. Yes, this is what we did in that joint thing to show the difference between, remember that, the cylinders that had nice curvature. How did we add resolution to those? Well, we've got that tool, insert edge loop. Remember insert edge loop? You should add insert edge loop to your custom toolbar. So edit mesh, mesh tools, control shift, insert edge loop. I'm actually going to go to my options first. So I want to make sure I don't have that number of edge loops at 4. Equal distance from edge is fine. That's good. I'm going to go back and make sure that I go control shift, insert edge loop. So now I have it right here. So now that I have my tool, remember all I have to do is click on an edge where I want to insert an edge loop. So I'm going to do one there, one there. I'm basically going in between what I already have. This is really what we were talking about, working big to small. Now I've about doubled the resolution of my cup handle. Now if I go back to F9 and I start manipulating these one at a time, scaling it down, rotating it once again so that it's basically perpendicular with my cup handle size, the thickness of it. I'm going to do that one at a time. This one should be close already because we already scaled this one down and this one down. This one came in pretty close. I am going to rotate it slightly. This one should also be pretty close to the same width. I'm also going to rotate that one slightly. And again, this one down here really got tapered off. R. Slightly. And then I'm going to pull back and reassess. Where do I see my cup handle and my image really going outside of the boundaries of my geometry? Well, I've got a few places. Right here and right here. So I'm going to go F8, back to object mode, grab my insert edge loop tool again by clicking on my button that I created on my shelf. I'm going to add one there, and I'm going to add one there. Then I'm going to go back to F9, once again, go in and manipulate my verts by moving, rotating, and scaling if necessary. Try to evenly space it between here and here. Go back up here, move, rotate a little bit. I'm pretty good. I'd probably add another one here and another one up here, but again, we're just trying to get this close. If I go now to perspective and get out of X-ray mode, I've got something that I can work with. Okay, so work this down. Let's whittle it down. This is like sculpting. You got to get it close by adding geometry. Insert edge loop.